Hey, we're live, by the way.
Okay, really, I shouldn't sound stupid then.
No, it's okay. We're good.
See, when it comes to computer, I am in stiff competition with the village idiot when it comes to computers. So,
hey, I am the village idiot when it comes to all of this. I'm just,
yeah, sure.
you can either be a village idiot that's quiet and, or you can be a
Yeah.
village idiot that's
Okay,
saying
well, I
something.
guess we got several people in here looking at us, so we should be nice.
We got, hang on, let me pull it up and make sure it's going. Okay, here we go. We got 19 people in the house so far.
All right.
We'll roll the show out in just a second. Hello, Nori Love. Anastasia Campos, I'll get back with you today, probably. I got shows for the next 6 hours, and we'll get you on. We need to get Anastasia Campos on. She's a hell of a divine feminine. Catherine Chasion's in the house. Lynn Hansen, Carl Streener, Catherine Knoll. And let me just share it to the network so I can we can try to stay above these algorithms that Facebook puts in place as we expand this energy that we all share called Soulogy, which is just the name for the energy that we all are, which is pure love. And if these shows resonate with you, please share to your page or to a group. Just one is fine. And that way we can stay above these algorithms and keep on connecting and exchanging codes with all of our brothers and sisters out there. Whoa, I'm getting a big download right when I raise my head up. It's supposed to tell you something, it seems. Hey, I just follow this. I just follow. I mean, that's what it is, right? It's just trying. I mean, it's like I posted it again the other day. My second favorite quote is, "I am not judged by the number of times I fail, but by the number of times I succeed, which is in direct proportion to the number of times I try." Thank you, Tom Hopkins, the sales guru. But
Well,
huh?
Could you say that again? That was brilliant. Could you say that again?
Yeah, it's I am not judged by the number of times I fail. I am judged by the number of times I succeed, which is in direct proportion to the number of times I try. So, that to me, I found that in my mid-20s when I was reading a lot of self-help books and a lot of business-oriented marketing, sales. And Tom Hopkins is a sales guru, or was. I don't know if he's still in the business, but to me, it always spoke to my soul because, and especially as the journey's continued, because the more we know, the less we know, as Plato or Socrates said. And so, but each, and Morgan says, every day you get up from the dream, every day you get up and it's like the slate is clean, and so I believe that we chose to come here, that we are universal warriors. We're expanding the outer breadth of Mother Creation. We are creating the new blueprint, and we've got all these seemingly complexities, roaming around in the common collective mind. Some are real, some are not. Some, I don't know. Do we know? I don't know. We just had an hour and a half show with Sean Christopher. We talked about space program. We talked about financial reset. We talked about, his memories being taken up to a ship into Area 51 and just a lot of different things. And this is where we can start it, Aage. And just so everybody knows, if you don't know Aage Nost, is it Team Alpha or Alpha Team?
www.broadcastteamalpha.com.
Broadcastteamalpha.com. He's hooked up with Nori Love and a few other people. They do some pretty good productions. You can find him on YouTube as well. And he's been in these circles for many, many years, 15, 20 years. And he's also been involved in TV, radio, internet broadcasting, discussing these issues, interviewing a lot of different people. And so with all these complexities that are out there, to include everything from family drama, relationships, friend and foe, perceived, to the village, the country, the world, the separations, the talk of 5D, the influence apparently of 4D, all these things, the Vatican, inner Earth, flat Earth, round Earth, all of these things can make this so complex. What's your perspective on where we're at and where we're going.
Yeah, they make it complicated for us. But hey, what do you want to talk about today? I didn't know, so I didn't prepare a single thing for you. We just gotta have to go somewhere.
That's what I'm talking about. It's
Oh, okay.
spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and courageous.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, just well, in that regard, let's keep that going. I mean, a lot of this, I don't know, I almost want to I'm not into labels, but I made reference to Tom Hopkins in the books I was reading in my 20s, and they eventually evolved into everything from Shakti Gawain, creative visualization, to keys of consciousness, Ken Keys. There was what they called a New Age movement. You would go into a bookstore and it would say New Age. I don't see, as I've re-entered, 7 years ago, this this type of curiosity for expansion. As I became familiar with light worker circles, if we want to call it that, I don't see that as the same as the New Age thing. I see this, what's coming out in these shows and in these posts that we see in the community with our brothers and sisters. I see the experiential. I see the value of the activations offered and soul code exchange offered by each one of us, just speaking about our experience and what we know, and not coming from a right or wrong or grandstanding, but just coming from a place of, I'm just like you. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, and we don't really know the whole truth yet. We know a little bit of pieces here and there, and we find more pieces as we go along. And then when we found some of those pieces later on, we found that, oh, those pieces weren't right at all, but now we get new pieces again. So we got to keep juggling these things. And eventually, I think we will be able to kind of by elimination develop a picture, and at least I have, of what I can see is real and what is maybe questionable. Not necessarily wrong, but questionable, because once it's questionable, you put it aside a little bit and then you just wait until you get more information that can confirm the questionable stuff. So it is a continuous learning process, and I don't think we'll ever be over with that one.
Yeah.
But I think, though, that the ones of us that I call myself a seeker. And I think it's a term I can live with, because I think I'll always be and will be. And I think if we are seekers, we will find. And what we find is usually, these days anyway, outside of the box where all the good stuff is anyway. So we learn. And from that learning, we grow. And we grow into a higher vibration, higher spiritual capacity, to the point where we are able to think and do and envision and act in a higher conscious thinking mode.
Yeah.
And
Conscious.
yeah, that the consciousness behind it all make all this available to us. And it is all about love. Even Albert Einstein, about a year before he died, he made the comment that I have been looking outside of the physical,
Yeah.
and there is something there, but I don't know what it is. But what I have found is that this whole universe was made from love.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. I remember, speaking of another book. I remember, and I don't remember the book, but I remember reading how, and I want to say it was definitely in the first half of the last century. And I remember reading about Albert Einstein and a group of scientists who were looking for the God key within the body. And it really struck me because it was just a story in a book. I don't even remember what the book was about. Because when they got, and many of them, and I hate to even use this term, but just for the purpose of the story, in that context, in that age, were atheists. And that's a non-religious statement I just made. And so what they found is that they couldn't find it.
Mhm.
That the deeper, they found that the internal body was as infinite inward as they got into the atom and what they could determine as the bottom or the floor was as infinite inward as the universe is and the cosmos are outward. And that really struck me. So for him to say that it's all love is an extraordinary statement. And,
what they're running into is that it is very difficult to use physical instruments to measure non-physical things.
yeah.
And when they get into the atom, you can measure that, you can see it. Electron microscopes, you can see it. You can even see the electrons. Well, kind of anticipate where they are at least. But once you start tearing apart the electrons or the proton, now it gets down to the boson and the other smaller particle, and they find that they phase in and out of the physical, depending on the thought and the mind of the one that is observing it.
Yeah. That's quantum, right?
Yeah, that is the quantum gate.
Yeah, that's for a long time, I didn't take the time to read in depth about quantum physics and quantum explanations. A lot of us, I think we've moved to this, you can look at something, touch something, be exposed to a picture, whatever, and you pick up the frequency, you pick up the information. But I know when I was on the street, I remember having a transmission. And it was kind of like a lot of what we're going through now, all of us, which is, I am nothing. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm nothing. And it's challenging. And I remember receiving that. How do you know, Todd? How do you know? How do you know you're divine? How do you know you are soul? How do you know you're eternal? And I had to go to the universe and say, I don't know. And then the universe said, well, what are you going to do from here forward? And I said, well, I don't know if I'm eternal. I have to be open to every possibility, right? That is being the universal, being the mirror of the universe. Everything is wide open. There is no end to any possibility. So I'm going to move forward, because how do I not know that the very thoughts that I carry forward with a choice of either believing I'm eternal or believing I'm going to physically expire and that's the end of me forever? How do I know that my thoughts carried forward are not the difference? And to me, there's like a quantum aspect to that we are actually creating. Like you said, the observer is creating, and as we all know, we are sitting in an observer's chair that's also the avatar in the video game. So,
But of course, now I know enough about you to know that you have had some experiences that pretty much prove that there is much more to this than what we can see around us, the physical.
Yeah.
So that goes back to an old saying that I've been using for quite a while, and that is that for the one that has had the experience, no explanation is necessary. For the one that has not had the experience, no explanation is possible. So once you have that first, that it may be a little thing, first experience of something that does not and cannot be explained by Newtonian physics, you say, aha, that's the indication that there is more to this. The mind overrides the physical of what we see in the hologram.
Yeah. Yes.
And I've had many experiences like that. So for me, there's no question anymore. But for the ones that hasn't had the experience, just wait, keep meditating, keep raising your thought, surrounding yourself with people of higher consciousness, and do what you feel is right. And those experiences will show up.
Yeah.
And when they do, man, that's a celebration.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you particularly about something that happened to me last night. I spoke about it on the last show, but I wanted to get your view on it as to what it was, right? So last night I walked out into the pasture next door, and it was, it was 2 nights ago, and full moon. And so it was still dark, and it's just all pasture, a lot of trees. There's There's like a creek. And I was standing in the field, and I started to see, and I've seen them before, but not this close. I mean, I saw like these waves, rainbow waves, just a kind of a translucent, but I could see the color, and it was like energy in front of me, and I got the impression that it were beings. They were beings. There wasn't just one. It was several of them, and actually kind of almost like surrounded. And so I didn't get real scared. I wasn't in that state of mind. I just was like, okay, I don't know what I'm looking at, and I am looking at it because I checked myself 2-3 times, and I said, I just open my heart, and I invite you in. And so then the energy started to swirl around me, right? As I'm standing in this field, and it starts to swirl. It's not like a perfect line. They're waves, and it's moving around me. I can't really describe it. It kind of looked like the character in the movie Predator when it was in the trees, where you could kind of see the energy. And so, and I thought, okay, am I experiencing something outside of myself, family or whatever the case is, or divine essence? Or is it hugging me, or it felt like a vortex was forming? And these human thoughts came in, and then it came to a stop, and I could see the energy. It was almost like I leaned back, which I didn't, and I could see the energy coming out of my heart, connecting to it. And then I wondered, well, is this all coming from me? Is what I'm seeing coming from me, this energy, or did I just connect with it? I don't know. I was just like, whoa. What do you think that was?
Well, I think it was a thought form of some kind that contacted with you, and it may have done that for several reasons. Maybe it wanted to give you some information that is already planted in your mind, that is just that it hasn't reached conscious understanding yet. Or it could be something that it just wanted the first time to say, hey, here I am.
Yeah.
Be many things. And right now, I want to ask the people out there, if you have a way to communicate with them in the chat room. I see an aura around you. It is green. And a little while ago, I saw a little orange halo. Is there anybody out there that see the same thing that I am seeing? I'm sure they can hear me. Maybe if they can comment in the chat room.
Okay, I got it right.
It's just showed up here the last 5 minutes.
I just the lag time on the comments is about 30-40 seconds behind when you make a comment, so it'll take just a second.
Yeah, I see if other people see it also.
Yeah, I have experienced that in these 900 plus shows we've done. I have experienced it sitting in this seat. Sometimes it has been not me. I mean, I'm seeing the guest. I have seen many glitches. I've seen some things that were clearly third eye, some things that I didn't know, and some things that I'm sitting with my physical eyes. And I often wondered, but I've seen people comment. And let's see what we got here. So let's see. I'm not sure where there's some yeses. Yes. I see my friend Jen Lynn, who's going to be coming on. I see blue, green around Todd, yellow, green. Yes, green. So I don't see the green.
No, you don't see yourself, but
well, the wall is aqua, I think. Yeah, it's kind of a greenish.
Yeah, it's blue further out and green within 6 inches of you.
Yeah, that's trippy, man. But I guess that's part of what's happening now for us. Is we are, it used to be that some people say, "Oh, I can see auras, and I can do this, and I can hear that," and it's like these things are introducing themselves into our experience more and more.
Yeah, I used to be able to do a lot of that, and on occasion I still can, but I'm not very good at it, so I can't do it all the time.
Yeah. And so I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Some what have you been talking about on your shows? Who have you had on there?
We've covered just about anything you can think of. I know on the last few shows you talked about space and what's out there, and even the med beds.
Yeah.
And on Broadcast Team Alpha, we have several shows there that we actually talk about the med bed. We show pictures of them,
Really?
and we talk about what people actually have gone through using those. Because some of these people that have been in the Secret Space program, they've used those med beds, and they talk about how it's done, and it gets very interesting.
Yeah.
So go there and poke around, and you'll find those things, and then. You can listen to it because it's quite interesting. But these now are going to be implemented because right now, as of we speak, there was a company over in Germany that has built a somewhat similar to a med bed, but you're sitting down in it. In fact, it was placed in at the airport, and you could actually go in there and put money in it and sit in it for a half hour to rebuild cell structure of the body, because it rebuilds some of the Royal Rife technology through vibrations as well as light. So this
Yeah.
is what they say: you can rebuild, cure skin cancer. They don't mention that, but that's one of the effects that they talk about in some of the papers that the company issued.
Yeah.
So this gets more and more. 10 years from now, I bet we're going to have these things. Oh, maybe not quite as good as they have on other worlds, but it's coming.
Well, I just wonder about, about these things. I wonder about the quote unquote hidden technology. Like I was talking about on the last show, are these distractions, or these carrots on the stick? And when I say that, I again, because my only, this is just me, my universe, my only way to operate, what I find is the best way for me to operate is to operate from the heart, to align with those things that are most dear to me, my relationship, my work, uh, as the prime examples, and just be concerned with that. Be concerned with that expansion, because I don't know. To me, if all that stuff is there, why wouldn't it just be made available immediately and not wait 10 years? Why wouldn't it all be introduced right away? And one thing that really kind of made me think on the last show with him, with Sean, was he was talking about that this was technology that was being kept from us and used by those that were in control. Well, if that's the case, why did George Bush Sr. die? Why did John McClane die? If they have eternal life, or maybe they're just taking another body. I don't know. Have you guys discussed anything like that?
One of the reasons why they are not worried about death too is because the leaders of the world, or many countries now, they have been promised immortality if they do like the people behind the curtain tell them to do. So that's why Merkel over in Germany is betraying her nation, and many other countries are going the same way because they are promised immortality. Well, the kind of immortality they are promised, according to a friend of mine in a northern European country that works in the government, he was actually, oh God, I shouldn't even say this, but he was offered this, and he turned them down. And
Yeah.
he said that they have the capability of downloading all information in your brain,
Yeah.
not the mind, but in the brain, into a computer. And that computer will be placed in an Android. And that way you will basically live forever, because they can, you know.
So it sounds to me like you got this one. Well, we're just talking here, that
Yeah.
this 1% has no faith in their divinity, and or which would follow the alt news narrative. So, and or wants to try to maintain their power as the quote unquote lesser gods that follow the storyline of the Anunnaki, reptilian, that type of thing. Where
Yeah.
you have on the other end of the spectrum, you have the Augies and the Todds and all these people, these beautiful people, brothers and sisters that are here today and that watch the replay, that are saying, I am freaking divinity, period. Okay. I am made in the image. Therefore, I am that. And I can transform anything, first and foremost myself, way beyond the human being transformed. I mean, and then in the middle, there's the middle. But maybe the middle is, people talk about the great divide. Maybe there is no middle. Maybe it's an all or nothing proposition. It's all on the individual, the I am soul. I mean, it's never them. It's always me. Period. As difficult as it can be. I don't know.
I think, though, that when those people like the old man Bush and others of his ilk, when they do drop the body, they're going to be a little surprised, because they may not understand what's coming to them on the other side. I doubt they will be able to live through that android that they have prepared for them. The android will be independent because it is only a machine.
Yeah.
And the spirit, as we know it, I doubt will be attracted to living through that again, because that's a totally different experience. I don't know this, but that is my opinion, that way I understand it. So I think they're going to end up going back, and get re-educated and coming back, and maybe be a jackrabbit in Africa next time, being chased by
a jackrabbit in Africa. I hadn't seen a jackrabbit since I left Texas. So yeah, and then we got we talked about this a little bit, but I think we do need to introduce this more on this programming, at least on some shows from time to time, because again, we're just trying to figure out what the hell's going on here. I still stand in the camp that says everything outside of me is a distraction, particularly those things on the collective world stage, carrots on the stick, promises with different faces on them, all different levels of quote unquote salvation, and we'll take care of you, and we know what's best. And I'm talking this financial reset, and talking we're going to give you this technology, I'm talking whatever. But QAnon, and I'm just, again, we're just having a conversation. If QAnon is what it is, then why not tear the Band-Aid off some of this stuff? I can understand that they say, okay, there's this whole big giant box of things that will blow people's minds if we expose it all at one time. But certainly there's got to be segments, subsets of that whole box, like 10% or 15% or 5 different issues at 50% disclosure, that could be released and should be released, because as time goes on, it's just another carrot on the stick.
Yeah, but that's not the big reason. The big reason is profit and power, and not necessarily in that order. That's the only two things that has importance to the people behind the curtain. No, not even the 1%, the 1 out of 100,000 maybe. Those are the ones that decides what is happening to all of the rest of us. So I think that the reason we don't see any of these technologies, first of all, is because it's become the law that you can't, if you come up with a solar cell right now that has got 100% improvement over the last one, DARPA or the CIA or whoever in government that governs those laws that forbid any improvement over energy technologies more than 25%. So it couldn't even make it to the market. So they regulate this to be able to keep their own profits running, so nobody's going to run them out of business with a better mousetrap. And that will be there as long as the power of money and power is in charge. So
in respect to QAnon, again, we're just giving perspectives. So in respect to QAnon, that reality that you're describing, which we can easily look at the oligarchy, the different branches of the oligarchy, and see that that's true, such as oil and gas. But in respect to QAnon, are you saying that the information's not being released, or parts of it aren't being released in full disclosure because it's part of the false narrative, it's part of the illusionary story, and it's a bunch of bullshit?
They may at one time release as little as possible as they can get away with.
Yeah.
Because information is power, and they're all about power. They want to keep as much power as they can close to their chest, and throw a few bones out there for us to say, oh, wow, now we got solar panels we can put on our roof that can reduce our electric bill down to $20 a month instead of 300. So now we're happy. Would they keep the other billions and billions of profits on other things? They will, and that's why I'm saying disclosure of the UFO issue will not happen from government. It never will. Now, it may very well come from ET himself. When you see the sky is full of ships, then you will know it cannot be shoved under the rug anymore. And that's what I've seen happen. So that's how it will show up, but not before. Because then the government can say, oh, well, they're here. We can't deny it anymore.
Yeah. Or they can, or it could be Project Bluebeam for all we know.
Yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, and again, to me, it just goes back to us. It goes back to the individual.
Yep.
I think this apocalypse definition, unveiling, disclosure, whatever you want to call it, ascension, whatever. When you first take a look at it, when you first get acclimated with when I did, and I think maybe a lot of people, all we could think about was the truth behind the lies, right? But again, all of these things to me, or at least have the potential of being a program, of being implanted into the consciousness of the mind, of the conscious mind. So, if I look at that and I say to myself, what has been the common denominator of the powerless powers that be, we'll use that term, all these centuries going back to what we can put our finger on 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. What has been the common denominator? It has been to keep us from the truth. And the core of that truth is our divinity. All right. So, I mean, that to me, that type of narrative or potential programming lends to the same thing. We're going to come save you. What's the difference between that and a bunch of missionaries coming in representing the Spanish government, going to Mexico, wiping out the Indians, giving them a Bible and saying, here's your God. And 100 years later, the descendants of those that were taken out are worshiping this God they were giving and subservient to those that conquered them. I mean, what's the difference? It's still the same mind, the mind trick, it's like a shell game.
The thing, people are talking about the problems every day, and they really don't know any solutions to speak of. The thing about it is that there are solutions. And one of the effects of the solutions, actually, I'll explain it in about 35 seconds. And that is that last year there was a hurricane coming over from Africa, going up the Cuban, right over Cuba. And it was a category 5 hurricane before it came to Cuba. When it go over land, it always drops down to a lower number, or it loses power. It didn't, and that shouldn't have happened.
Oh yeah. So it was man. It was man.
Left Cuba heading for Florida. It was a category 5, and in 90 miles, it dropped to just under 70 miles an hour winds, which is a storm. And this should not have happened, because in the Gulf for those 90 miles, there were hot water that scooped up more energy. And what happened is that George Norrie on Coast to Coast and many other churches and associations, including myself and our team, we visualized, we were trying to see the hurricane fizzling out. And we were all concentrating on that, and guess what it did? It shouldn't have, according to Newtonian physics, but it did. That's the solution. We need to join minds. If we have a church group, if we have an associated, I don't care what kind of group it is, use the mastermind principle. When you join minds, you multiply your effect. That's how we can actually deal with the problem, because we cannot outfire outfight the bastards at the top, but we can outthink them.
Yeah, I mean, you can't stop the power of love. I mean, I think of Sandra Walter does that Sunday meditation 3 times a day every Sunday from Mount Shasta. There's thousands of people participate. Grace Solaris just did a meditation with over 400 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we cannot underestimate the power of one unique and equal soul. Where two more come together, well, we know what the good books say about that.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things, Nori and we're going to do that, and we are trying to put it together. It's not as easy as I thought putting the backbone of this mastermind group together, but when we announce it, I will let everybody know so we can all get together and get other people together. If we can get 1 million people together, can you imagine what power there will be behind that? Because intention and love is not only a thought, it's an energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's giving me an idea.
There you go.
This is why we do it, right?
Absolutely.
So it looks like we're going to roll out next month, Easter weekend. I'm okay to say this. This is our intention. Everything's kind of aligned, and so what we're going to do is have a marathon,
a marathon,
like a 36-hour broadcast to launch the network, to launch the website, to launch our independent stream server and platform. And now that you're telling me this, I could see where, we could put into that 36 hours, maybe every 4 hours or something, these mastermind little mini bombs, little mini soulgasms out into the universe and into the realm where we have one specific subject and say, okay, everybody, let's just come together for this next 5 minutes. Let's put our minds, hearts, and spirit in alignment with this thought, be it whatever it may be,
Excellent. I tell you what, go to Broadcast Team Alpha website, and we, Nori and I and Tom, we did 3, maybe 4, 3 shows on the mastermind principle. First of all, what it is, how it works, and how it can be done. Those are pretty good shows. So watch them and listen to that. Might give you some other ideas.
Right on. You guys got a nice website. Very well done.
Yeah. Tom is sharp.
I'm looking at it right now. I was looking for let me see if I can pull this up real quick so people can see. Here we go. Oh, I'm getting downloaded, right, or whatever. We don't want to share that, but we're going to share this. All right, so this is going to be.
There's the title you're looking for is The Mastermind.
This is This is the website of Broadcast Team Alpha, which I would say is and there's all the videos, and then we have live, home, show host, YouTube. Let's see what we got on home. There's Aage, Nori, Tom Schaefer, latest post, live stream. There's Aage's deal with how to reverse the aging. Everybody, just so you know, Aage is about 117 years old.
Without tax, yeah.
I'm just messing with you, bro. Yeah. So be sure and take a look at that. That's what it's all about. We support each other, collaborate with each other, all of us. And then this is how we also expand. Because, the truth is, just like with the energy and the vortexes created with these shows and what we call Soulogy, it's not always a conscious, doesn't have to be a conscious, let's all think about this particular thing for these next 5 meditative moments. It's really where we put our energy in the so-called the grid point. We're all in this no time, no space, sharing space, and activating each other, expanding each other just by the will of our intention to further love. Really.
Because everything starts in the mind. And the trick is that we have never been taught how to use our mind. So how are we going to do it without having been shown how to do it. We just got to keep poking in the dark until we find something that works, and then we go from there. And that takes a lot longer if we really had an owner's manual. Boy, wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it
But
be
I tell
nice?
you, I'm going to show you this because, I have no shame. I got to show you this. I wrote this book, Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. This book is where I teach people how to use the part of the mind that you normally don't deal with and wake it up, so to speak, and use the mind doing things that you otherwise would think would be impossible.
Yeah.
So go to Amazon, and I have a listing of all the subjects in there. Read that list, and chances are that you'll find something that you're interested in.
Yeah. And then I love what you said at the beginning of that we poke around and find something that works, and then we go on down the road. But I think another thing that's happening, especially this year, is that we're waking up each day. We have an expanded awareness, and what worked for us before doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work the same way, because we have an expanded awareness. We are visibly or consciously taking in more light, more dark, whatever you want to call it, and therefore also the processes, the modalities are new and fresh. Maybe it's sacred wisdom. That's something we've been doing for millions of years. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a wide open expansion that we're all in, and it just seems to me it's getting to the point now where more and more people are pulling everything they need from the universe, however you want to put it, from the Akashic, from the living library, whatever you want to call it, the universe. And that's exciting. That's really exciting.
Yeah, it is. And you just think it is exciting now. Just wait. You're going to have more things to be excited about here the next part of the year and possibly next year. Oh, yeah. We are on an accelerating spiral here.
Yeah.
And as we grow into or go further into this spike of light and energy coming out from the center of the galaxy, that's going to create that shift where some of us will be able to separate ourselves from the lower physical and others will not. They will just go through, and then there'll be another 26,000 years of misery again. But I'm not one of them. I want out of here.
I don't want out of here.
More or less. Not necessarily.
I really don't. No, I'm serious. I don't want out of here. I want to be a part, and I don't know if this is what's going to happen. I believe what's going to happen is what we believe is going to happen, what we make happen magically, alchemically. But I want to be a part of this, whatever you want to call it, this experiment, this accident, this realm that got interfered with. I want to see where this quote unquote dense energy, this dense experience transforms and integrates the physical and non-physical and become part of the team, the species, whatever you want to call it, that actually marries the two and defies death, period, and retains the physical form.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. That's what I'm in here for.
When I said I want out of here, I probably should qualify that a little bit. It was maybe misinterpreted some, because there will be a separation from the lower vibratory people and things in the physical from where we are going. There will be a separation there. And I would rather stay with a higher vibration and everything that goes in that direction. So what I meant was that I want out of here away from the lower vibrations.
No, I knew that's what you meant. But see, here's how I'm getting my intel and understanding my relationship with the universe. You don't need to do anything. You don't know what will happen. There are no absolutes. I don't know, because these beliefs cause lines of separation. If we were writing a story, and we were, which I believe what we are, we were writing a story and say, but there was a singular Aage God or a Todd God. Would you create, from everything that we've experienced up to this point, would you create another separation or would you have the whole party rise together and create this gigantic, phenomenal, once in a universal, never happened before tsunami that totally alters all dimensions across the board in the purest form of creation's pure love energy that's ever been seen before, and by the biggest mastermind ever seen before? I would rather see everybody on the same page. And I don't know if that's how it happens, but
yeah, absolutely, because we are raising all of us right now. But there are some of us that is fighting it by tooth and nail. They don't want anything part because they enjoy the power, the misery, the corruption. That's where their arena is. And that's what I rather separate myself from.
Yeah. And maybe I'm sorry.
Right, so to speak.
And maybe, going back to books again, I read quite, I read 3 or 4 of Emanuel Swedenborg's books in my mid-20s. Arcania, Coesta, Heaven and Hell, Marriage and Heaven, different things. Now, he was born in the Renaissance. So, and he was like a lot of the Renaissance men. He was one of those that was an engineer and a doctor and this and that and a surveyor and all this different stuff, right? And he was also, I believe, a prince, or I don't know if they use that term. I don't know if there was a monarchy, but he was from an affluent family. So he, like many doctors later, was trying to find the soul in the human body. And at 57, he decided to try to connect here, and for 17 years, he laid down on his couch every afternoon and then transcribed his experiences with angels and demons. This is the vernacular that he explained it in. But one of the things that he said was that there are 72 levels of heaven above the line and 72 levels of hell below the line. And that basically every being, every spirit would gravitate to that which they were most aligned. So there really wasn't a leveling up so much as that everybody had a certain hood, basically. Mm-hmm. And that if you found yourself in an area that was not of your vibrational, the same vibration, that you would be repelled out of it. Maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe we're just all going to back to where we were, back to where we most align with, and therefore there is no dark and light. And that these people that you might describe as wanting to be in this certain perception of a low level, heavy density, maybe that's beauty to them. Maybe that's the purest form of love to them. I don't know.
Well,
certainly not conscious as a human, but I mean,
I think you're onto something there, because the people of that lower vibration, they love it there. That's in their arena. And for us that maybe think a little bit different, when we either drop the body or rise to a level where we can make the change ourselves, we get drawn to the level of vibration where we are comfortable and where we fit in. So I think the guy you're talking about, I think he's onto something there.
Yeah, he wrote a whole bunch of books. There's even a Swedenborg Foundation in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and they have a pretty good YouTube channel called Off the Left Eye. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's interesting. I just as I go more into this experience with all of you guys, all of my brothers and sisters. I mean, I can only speak from my own experience. I think that's where the greatest value for any of us is. I just see more acutely every day the lines of separation in our beliefs, whether they be beliefs of what God's name is, or the beliefs of is there a secret space program, or the beliefs of whatever, because it all comes back to the same thing to me, which is what I was told 7 years ago, is keep it simple. It is about us. It is us. We are that. And I don't know, I guess another way to put it is that there's been ages where there was there's an Amma today, a Jesus before, a Magdalene, a Buddha, Confucius, whatever. And that today there's it possibly 7.5, 8 billion Jesuses, Magdalenes walking the earth that are waking up to that experience. I don't know. I just think staying open to everything is the key. And then for me, the byproduct has been, wow, there's lines of separation that I didn't see yesterday that I'm seeing today. And there's going to be some tomorrow that I didn't see today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, I'm a pilot, in aviation circles, we have this saying that, it's just like the mind. Mind is like a parachute. It isn't any good for you unless it is open.
Yeah, I like that. That's real good. That's very good. I had a dream last night. I had a hell of a day yesterday. I think a lot of people did. It was like a vortex. The whole day was like a vortex. It was like one scene in my experience, my physical experience, which was totally taken in all senses, went transitioned into another, and it was just one big vortex with all these pieces in it. So I went to bed last night. I want to say, I woke up at 4 o'clock and I had a lot of physical. It was really a physical download or a physical upgrade. My body was shaking. I mean, I was just like, I was just at the mercy of it. I surrendered. It was not really a mental or emotional or a visual experience. Then I went back to sleep about 5, and I had this lucid dream, and it was me and Morgan, and two of my kids, and a few other kids. I would suspect hers and ours. I don't know and a few other friends and stuff. And it had to do with beliefs. It had to do with what some call the Great Divide. And there was one plane going off over here, and there was another plane over here that was all dilapidated, and you had to like climb in, and it was like rickety and like almost like wooden. And the other one was all pretty and beautiful and the highest technology. And I said to him, "Don't go on that plane. Do what you want, but I'm not going on that plane." And I got
the good-looking one,
the really pretty one, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, that plane went off and immediately crashed into the ocean, right? And these lucid dreams that are coming in for all of us, the messages seem to be clear, but they're not like crystal clear. And I wondered what it was. And so then after that happened, in dream state, since we're supernatural, whatever we move as energy, we all then from the other plane, which was really more like a ship, like an ark, we all went to the ocean where the other plane was and basically resurrected everyone that had quote unquote died in the plane crash. So again, we were all together. It was showing these two extremes. One went this way, one went that way, but in the end, we were all one,
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, you can draw some parallels to that and get back to the one, couldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's just what I mean. So and it's that paradoxical teaching of the universe. So at the same time, two things are true because they're really one thing. So even this thing about what is true and what is not true, at the end, it's still the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's funny. Yeah, it really is. So what do you guys got going on? We got a few minutes left. What do you guys have going on with the website?
Oh, well, we
Broadcast Team Alpha, right? BroadcastTeamAlpha.com. What do you guys have coming up? What do you want to tell the people about so that they can support you?
Well, we're doing new shows all the time, and I think they're interesting. That's why we pick them, and hopefully others do too. So there will be new ones every week, and besides that, we're working on the mastermind principle that we're going to put together. And of course, I started my other radio show back up. That's www.universal-consciousness-show. I'm also doing that one now. So that is, and on that website, if you click on the picture gallery, you'll find 4,800, probably 4,900 by now, unbelievable pictures of stuff that you're not supposed to know about. So that's kind of interesting.
I've seen
have a look at that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess, we all need to keep on taking in as much information as we can. That's feed the computer.
And also like us on Facebook and send me friend requests. I pretty much accept everybody. So, and I put some really good stuff on the Facebook page too, for those of you that are on Facebook. And otherwise, subscribe to us on YouTube and get connected.
Yeah. And collaborate. We should collaborate at some point, Team Alpha, and Soulogy, collaborate on something, you know. So I'm always open to that, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing space with us, honoring us with your presence. And I wish you and Nori and everyone at Broadcast Team Alpha the greatest success. And may your vibrations from the heart be felt in the entire grid, and may you may you be blessed in every way. Thank you so much for all the work.
Already are.
Yeah, that's right. We're already there, man. All right, we got another one in. We got 3 more today. We got one in 34 minutes. With this one's going to be really interesting. Angel Dollar Healer. She's actually a homegirl from Houston, Texas. I didn't know that till I got to talking to her the last couple of days. She does QHHT. She also does, I think it's called QBT. I probably got it wrong. I don't know. BHT, I think, or BQT. I don't know. Which is a variation of QHHT that I think QHHT practitioners are using online because QHHT has to be done in person. And then something else called SRT. And in talking to her, I said, hey, why don't we do a session live? Why don't we do it live? Because I'm curious about QHHT. She can't do that QHHT online. And maybe the other one, or maybe this SRT. So I saw a note from her this morning and said, hey, do you want to do the session? And then we'll talk about it on the show. And I had told her yesterday, let's do it on the show. So I don't know if we're going to do it or we're going to talk about it, but it'll be interesting. It'll be in 33 minutes and you're all welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Aage Nost, and thank you, Broadcast Team Alpha. I'll see you later, brother. You take care.
Thank you.
And I'm getting to everybody's messages as quick as I can. They're just coming too many, but I'll get to them as best I can.